Let me solve one problem to find the inverse z transform with the help of the long division method. Problem number 6. Find the inverse z transform of x of z equals to 3z squared into 2z minus 4 all over z minus 2 into z minus 0.7 into z minus 1 by using long division method. Look, the signal has been given in the frequency domain. It is in z domain. Z domain means in frequency domain. We need to find its inverse by using the long division method. First, take the product in the denominator among these three terms. First, to take the product in the numerator and product in the denominator to have x of z equals to 6z cubed minus 12z squared all over z cubed minus 1.7 times z squared plus 0.7z minus 2z squared plus 3.4 times z minus 1.4. Take the product of 3 times z squared with this term. 3 times 2 is 6 and z squared times z is z cubed. Similarly, 3 times 4 is 12 and then z squared. Do the same thing in the denominator, you will get this expression. Look, negative 1.7 z squared, negative 2z squared is negative 3.7 z squared. 0.7 z plus 3.4 z is 4.1 z. Now, why we use long division method? We use long division method in case if the maximum power of the numerator equals to the maximum power of the denominator, or if the maximum power of the numerator is greater than the maximum power of the denominator. If the maximum power is 2 in the numerator and 3 in the denominator, we don't have any issue, because then the maximum power, which is 2, is less in numerator than the maximum power, which is 3 in the denominator. But here the case is different. The maximum power is 3 here in the numerator and the maximum power is also 3 here in the denominator, so we need a long division method here. You want to apply the long division method to get the signal in time domain from frequency domain. Let's go for the long division method. Put the numerator inside and denominator out. First, take the product of 6 to get 6z cubed minus 22.2z squared plus 24.6z minus 8.4. Look, it is a simple long division method. You must be familiar with this. It is a simple algebra. Just take the product of c with all the terms here. 6 times z cubed is 6z cubed. 6 times negative 3.7z squared is negative 22.2z squared. 6 times 4.1z is 24.6z. 6 times negative 1.4 is negative 8.4. Then apply the alternate signs. Look, according to the long division method, the positive sign becomes negative. Negative becomes positive. Positive becomes negative. Negative becomes positive. So whatever sign you have, you just take the opposite of it. Now I have negative z cubed and positive z cubed. So this negative z cubed cancels with the positive z cubed. For the rest of the terms, I have 10.2z squared minus 24.6z plus 8.4. Look, negative 6z cubed cancel with the positive 6z cubed. Positive 22.2z squared minus 12z squared equals to 10.2z squared. Because remember, it is no more negative. It is positive now. We changed the sign. Similarly, it is not positive anymore. It is negative. So just put negative 24.6z. And also here, from negative, it became positive. So just put positive 8.4 as it is. Now to take the product with the plus 10.2z to the negative 1. So I will have 10.2z squared minus 37.74z plus 41.82 minus 14.28 times z to the negative 1. Look, 10.2z to the negative 1 times z cubed equals to 10.2z squared. Because look, can I write z to the negative 1 equals to 1 over z? So when I write z to the negative 1 equals to 1 over z, the z cancels with the 1z here, so I'm left only with the z squared. If I write z to the negative 1 equals to 1 over z, I will get 10.2 over z. Take the product of 10.2 over z with the z cubed, you will get 10.2 z squared. Similarly, 10.2z to the negative 1 times -3.7 z squared equals to -37.74 z. If I write z to the negative 1 equals to 1 over z, I will get 10.2 over z. So when you take the product of 10.2 over z with the negative 3.7 z squared, you will get negative 37.74 z. Because that z will cancel with the z, so you're left only with a single z here. Similarly, 10.2 z to the negative 1 times 4.1 z equals to 41.82. If I write z to the negative 1 equals to 1 over z, I will have 10.2 over z. So when you take the product of 10.2 over z with the 4.1 z, you will get 41.82. That z will cancel with the z, so you have no more z here. Also, 10.2 z to the negative 1 times negative 1.4 equals to negative 14.28 times z to the negative 1. Just take the product of 10.2 z to the negative 1 with the negative 1.4. You will get negative 14.28 times z to the negative 1. Now to change the signs, it is positive. From positive it becomes negative. Here is negative. From negative it becomes positive. Here it is positive, so from positive it becomes negative. From negative it becomes positive. Now do subtraction to have 13.14z minus 33.44 plus 14.28z to the negative 1. Look, this negative 10.2z squared cancels with a positive 10.2z squared. And positive 37.74z minus 24.6z equals to 13.14z. Negative 41.82 plus 8.4 equals to negative 33.44. And then put this plus 14.28z to the negative 1 as it is. Make sure it is no more negative, it is positive now. So put positive here. Now to take the product with a 13.14z to the negative 2. To get 13.14z minus 48.618 plus 53.874z to the negative 1 minus 18.396 times z to the negative 2. Look, 13.14 into z to the negative 2 times z cubed equals to 13.14z. Look, can I write z to the negative 2 equals to 1 over z squared? Therefore, I will have 13.14 z squared. So when you take the product of 13.14 z squared with the z cubed, you will get 13.14 z. This z squared cancels with the 2z here. You will left only with a single z. Similarly, 13.14 into z to the negative 2 times negative 3.7 z squared equals to negative 48.618. Look, when you write z to the negative 2 equals to 1 over z squared, you will get 13.14 over z squared. And then when you take the product of 13.14 over z squared with a negative 3.7 z squared, you will get negative 48.618. That z squared cancels with the z squared. Similarly, 13.14 z to the negative 2 times 4.1 z equals to 53.874 into z to the negative 1. When you write z to the negative 2 equals to 1 over z squared, you will get 13.14 over z squared. And then when you take the product of 13.14 over z squared with the 4.1 into z, you will get 53.874 times z to the negative 1. Look, 1 z cancels with the z here. You will still left with the z in the denominator. And then when you bring the z up, you will get z to the negative 1. Also here, 13.14 into z to the negative 2 times negative 1.4 equals to negative 18.396 times z to the negative 2. Just take the product of this term with this, you will get negative 18.396 times z to the negative 2. Now to apply the opposite signs, look, from positive sign it becomes negative. From negative it becomes positive. From positive it becomes negative. From negative it becomes positive. Now do subtraction to have 15.178 minus 39.6 times z to the negative 1 plus 18.396 times z to the negative 2. Look, this negative 13.14z cancels with the positive 13.14z. Positive 48.618 minus 33.44 equals to 15.178. Negative 53.874 plus 14.2z equals to negative 39.6. But then don't forget we have z to the negative 1 here as well. Put z to the negative 1. Similarly, put plus 18.396 into z to the negative 2 as it is. We have positive now, not negative, put positive. If you take the product of 15.178 times e to the negative 4 with all these terms, just take the product of 15.178 times e to the negative 3 with all the terms, you will get something here, and then change the sign and then do subtraction. You may get many terms here, but I need to stop it here. I'm going to leave 15.178 times e to the negative 3 up to you. You take the product of this with all the terms. You're going to get something like this, and then change the sign and then do subtraction. If you want to take the product of more terms, you can do more terms. But for timing, I will left in this stage. So now I can write that x of z equals to 3z squared into 2z minus 4 all over z minus 2 into z minus 0.7 into z minus 1 equals to 6 plus 10.2 times e to the negative 1 plus 13.14 times e to the negative 2 plus 15.178 times e to the negative 3 plus so on. You're going to make this expression equals to this one. Just make that expression equals to this one, which is my x of z. Now to take the inverse z transform of 6 plus 10.2 times e to the negative 1 plus 13.14 times e to the negative 2 plus 15.178 times e to the negative 3 plus so on, your x of n will be 6, 10.2, 13.14, 15.178. There we got the signal in time domain. We applied the inverse z transform here, which is this expression, and we got the signal in time domain. Look, this is the amplitude of the signal. All the variables are the amplitudes of the signal. So I'm going to have 6, 10.2, 13.14, 15.178, and so on, because when you add more terms, you're going to have more amplitudes of the signal. There we got finally the signal in the time domain by using the long division method. Look, we have done this in the finite sequence section. That the z transform of the time domain signal is 2 times e to the squared plus 3 times e to the 1 plus 2 times e to the negative 1 plus 5 times e to the negative 2. So its time domain format will be this. This constant will be the amplitude of the signal. Here the signal is in frequency domain. Its time domain will be in this shape. Just put the constants as the amplitudes of the signals. And that's what we did here. So now the x of n is in the time domain.